these are customers that are looking for a product exactly like yours, and this is giving you the opportunity to put yourself in front of them.
When I go shopping on Amazon, I'm there to make a quick purchasing decision because in my head, that's what Amazon is for.
Hello, my name is Emma Shermer-Tamir from Marketing by Emma, and today I am here with Mandeep Kaur. Mandeep, would you please introduce yourself?
For sure. My name is Mandeep Kaur and I sell products on Amazon. I've been doing that for over 7 years. I'm based in Canada and I also help brands with their business to help scale their businesses on Amazon.
Well, I'm really excited to have you here today because we're going to be speaking about sponsored product ads, which if you're just getting started, this is a really great entry point into the whole world of Amazon ads, but running your first ad can also be really intimidating. And so Mandeep is going to help walk us through how to go about really creating a solid strategy and implementing this so that by the end of the video, you will be ready and off to the races to be preparing your first sponsored product ad. So I guess we should just start off by diving into what is a sponsored product ad.
Well, sponsored products campaigns are really, I would say, the go-to or starter campaign for people who are selling on Amazon. As you know, that when you launch a product on Amazon, you're buried on the 10th page. And so in order to get that customer visibility, you do need to be shown on the first page. So how do you do that? One of the ways to do that is to use a sponsored products campaign to be put in front of the right customer at the right time who's looking for a product like yours to be able to solve their consumer problem.
So can you help us understand where a sponsored product ad is showing up on the search results page? Like how is a customer going to be engaging with this type of ad?
Okay, well, it could be something simple as that when a customer types in some keywords, so to identify like black microphone, and you are selling that black microphone on the search results page, they will be able to see the sponsored products ad and they're able to then click on it, take a look at the listing, and once again see how that product will then resonate with what they're looking to buy.
So what's really great about a sponsored product ad is that these are customers that are looking for a product exactly like yours. They are ready to buy, and this is giving you the opportunity to put yourself in front of them and steal that conversion away from your competitors. Am I getting that right?
For sure.
What's the easiest way to get started?
I think
like obviously this is a no-brainer and I want to know. Tell me.
And I think when you're launching a product on Amazon, it's easy to get overwhelmed. So what you can do is start with something called the automatic campaign. And the automatic campaign will target keywords based on the SEO of your listing. So that's why it's really important to have, and I know, Emma, you talk a lot about this on your channel, to have relevant SEO in your listing because Amazon will pull that information and then suggest or show your product for those keywords.
So if I'm already ranking organically, do I also need to be running sponsored product ads, or is that sufficient for me?
Okay, and I'll just take it a step back and just talk a little bit about organic ranking and how organic ranking means that you are naturally on that page, on that first page, in front of customers, and you're not paying for that spot. So that's a gold mine right there. And how you get organic ranking is through running ads, but not only running ads, but also converting on those ads. And the more you convert on those ads, the more your organic ranking goes up. So I like to have a more offensive approach. And I know there's a term that I can't remember.
It's okay. We don't need to get into all the jargon.
Jargon here. Okay. But I like for the customer to see my product twice. Whether once is paid through sponsored products ad or once if it's organically. So if the customer sees your product twice on the same page, I feel like they'll have a higher propensity to want to click one of the products, and we're hoping that they will click either, the unpaid one, but even if they click the paid one, that still gives you more ad space or more real estate on the first page. And that's what we want. We want that visibility. We want customers to be able to see your product, because if they can't see your product, they're not going to want to click it, or they won't have the ability to click it and buy the product. So having that visibility, I feel I would still run sponsored products campaigns, even on a keyword that I am heavily organically ranked on.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, even if I was the number one ranking product, if this is going to give me an opportunity to have more real estate, to have higher visibility, to even be ranking above in that whole sponsored products section before we even get to the organically ranked products, that's absolutely something that you're wanting to do. Also, just from a psychological perspective, we know that the more times that a customer sees and engages with any kind of imagery or brand creative, even if they're not aware of it,
Mhm.
it is helping to increase their likeness of that product and is increasing the likelihood that they are actually going to be wanting to buy. So, what I'm getting from you, and also just from my own knowledge and experience, that's only more reason to be wanting to run sponsored product ads.
For sure, for sure.
So you're running an automatic campaign. That's the first step that we've established.
Mhm.
How can you take that to the next level? You're feeling good about that. You're feeling confident. How do we gear up?
Well, the nice thing about Amazon ads is they give you a lot of data points. And so, what I would do is take that information that you're getting from the automatic campaign, meaning what are the keywords you're being shown for, what are the keywords that you're converting on, and then put those in a manual campaign. Now, Emma, I'm not sure about you and your strategy on how you advise brands, but I really love phrase campaigns. They're not as tight as the exact ones and have a little bit more fluidity, and it's still ensuring that you're targeting the right customer. So, what I would suggest to people is once they've run an automatic campaign for at least 30 days, take the information on the keywords you're being shown for, the keywords you're converting on, and move them into a manual campaign.
Okay, so you're using a couple of terms here. We're talking about exact and phrases. Can we define those for any newbies who we might have gone over their head a little bit?
Well, an exact campaign is exactly that. It's the exact keywords that a customer would type in. However, we may, as Amazon sellers, think and describe this black microphone as black microphone, but the buyer, as we have purchased products on Amazon too, we might have a million different iterations of that product. Black microphone with stand, black microphone with wire, black microphone with tilt. So there's a lot of opportunities and ways people can describe and then communicate what they're looking for. So with exact campaigns, you're betting on that customer is typing in that exactly. Whereas I feel with exact campaigns, because they're a little more constrictive, that's why I like phrase campaigns, because you're able to add additional words or you're able to bid on keywords that have additional words either before or after that exact keyword description.
So if your phrase was black microphone, then it could also be microphone with a black case, and that would still be perhaps within the range of what you're able to bid on. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
I don't know who's searching for black cases, but my examples are always so silly. But
No, they're not.
the microphone is here, and so
No.
that's what's top of mind. Like when you're running an ad, if the ad is at the top, then that placement is going to catch someone's attention in a way that being buried down below may not.
May not, exactly.
What are some of the most common mistakes that you see people making with sponsored product ads?
That's a really good question because I think with mistakes, what is really a mistake? It's, I think, lack of knowledge. And so I think if we're not e-commerce or if we don't have a background in e-commerce, we may not have the ability or we may not know the knowledge of the key acronyms that we use in at the Amazon ad space. So I think the mistake ties into the lack of understanding the data points that are very key, especially when you're launching a product on Amazon. So things like ACOS, Auroras, tacos. Those are very important for you to understand how to take your advertising to the next level. Because if you don't understand what those data points mean, then you're not going to be able to use those data points to be able to either, stop the bleed on some campaigns or effectively use the budget you do have for campaigns that are performing well. So I would say one of the key things to learn about Amazon ads is understand the basics of the types of campaigns, what they're for, and then obviously some of the data points that can help you make those decisions on how to scale and grow your Amazon ad strategy.
And if you're wanting to figure out where to go to learn all of this information, I actually just did a certification on Amazon sponsored product ads, and it was so helpful because it really demystified many of the different terminology that's used that makes all of these concepts feel inaccessible, but it's really just learning a new language and then understanding how to be able to engage and interact with that for the different strategies that you're going to be implementing. So even though it might sound intimidating, it's not. It just takes practice and exposure, and you will get the hang of this. This isn't rocket science by any stretch of the imagination. If I can learn it, you can.
Yeah, and just the importance of understanding that base. I think that's going to be a lifelong knowledge as you grow your Amazon business. If you don't understand that base, you're going to kind of be running on that hamster wheel all the time. Like, okay, well, why is this not performing well? Well, it's because you're not really understanding why it's not performing well. And it could be something simple like I'm getting a lot of clicks, but not a lot of sales. Well, does that tie into your SEO of your data, your bullet points, your back end keywords? So going back to understanding that base is going to be so key, especially if you're launching 2, 3, 4, or 5 products. If you do it correctly the first time with the knowledge, you're going to be able to do it much faster over and over again.
It's interesting that you're talking about a different way of taking it to the next level, which is being able to assess what's performing and what's not, and perhaps some lessons that you can gain as you begin running your sponsored product ads. So, can you maybe walk us through some of the things that we should be looking for and paying attention to that we can then utilize to not only refine our ad strategy, but maybe also our listings and our strategy as a whole?
I think one of the common, I don't like to use the word mistakes, but one of the common missteps could be doing too much too fast. I like a more reserved approach with my ad strategy because I want to pay for that data, collect that data, and see how I can pivot the product and how I can scale the product. So one of the things I feel like is underutilized is like longer tailed keywords. And if you don't know what a longer tailed keyword is, it's keywords that really describe the product with quite a few keywords. And those keywords, I feel, tend to be less competitive in the budgeting perspective because people want to go for the more searched keyword. Whereas where you are in your business, if you're launching a brand new product, are you going to be competitive enough to convert on those higher end keywords? Maybe not. So maybe let's start with the longer tailed keywords that will cost hopefully a little bit less, but will be able to get me enough traction and enough organic ranking, whereas I feel comfortable as the listing matures, the product matures, more reviews come in, then I can throw my hat in the ring of the more competitive keywords because I'll have more proof behind that conversion of that listing.
Well, the other important thing to remember is that a really short tail keyword might be something as simple as microphone. And microphone could be descriptive of many different kinds of products. So if I'm looking for a handheld microphone to do karaoke, that is not the same customer as somebody that's looking for a podcasting microphone. And so because of that, those long tail keywords can also be incredibly more valuable because they are really narrowing in on the exact right query rather than just going after something that may be too broad and actually only a small pool of your customers are even truly looking for a product like yours.
And I think that ties into keyword relevancy. We talk a lot about that, and that just means the words that are being described, are they relevant to your product? Right. And the more the keyword is relevant, I feel like the more that you're paying for that data, the more relevant that data will be. Whereas if you're, as you described, bidding for the keyword microphone, but you're selling a karaoke microphone, well, you've paid a lot for that data, but is it relevant to how you're going to be able to scale the advertising for that microphone.
And I imagine that's why an automatic campaign within sponsored product ads is so valuable, because it's going to be giving you that concrete data of where the customers are converting and then where to be able to put more of your focus and your budget and your attention. Is that correct?
That sounds about right.
Obviously, there are a lot of choices that businesses have when it comes to deciding where to sell their products. Why do you think that Amazon Marketplace specifically is such a valuable place for businesses to either start or expand into?
And this ties back to why I started selling on Amazon. I actually buy a lot on Amazon. I don't know about you. There's an Amazon package that probably comes to my house every other day. So as a seller, for me, I'm Canadian. And so the ability for me as a Canadian to be able to sell products in the US is a huge opportunity. And I can imagine the infrastructure and investment it would take for me to have those resources in place, because every Canadian business's dream is to sell in the US. So first of all, I look at it as Amazon grows, I'm going to kind of ride their coattails along with them. So that is number one. And there's a continual investment, between the delivery service. There's a heavy lift that's taken off of me, that's automated, which I really like about selling on Amazon. Now, why on Amazon.com is because I feel like when I go shopping, like there's other social websites that people visit, but when I go shopping on Amazon, I have a very high buyer intent. I'm there to shop, spend, 30 seconds to 5 minutes, but make a quick purchasing decision. Because in my head, that's what Amazon is for, is whereas other sites may be more for social scrolling, for comedy, for entertainment, and I'm not in the mindset to buy. So that's why I actually, as an Amazon seller and buyer, think of Amazon, I automatically associate it with wanting to purchase something. So the high buyer intent, if you're looking at growing your e-commerce business, or if you're looking at growing your brick and mortar business and selling products online, you need to understand, where are people buying? Because if you can capture them in that stage already, which is on Amazon.com, I feel, you're going to have a high return on investment of your time and your money.
Well, a really interesting point that you bring up is where customers are also in their buyer journey. And so perhaps if you're elsewhere, then it may be more of an impulse buy,
Mhm.
which also could mean that there's higher return rates, or it's capturing somebody in a very specific moment,
Mhm.
versus when somebody actually is looking for a specific thing, and then they are able to go directly to Amazon.com and then find a product like yours, and having that built-in audience and customer base that's already there, combining that with all of the borrowed trust that you get from selling on Amazon. Because especially if you are a new business or a small business and you don't necessarily have that brand name recognition, it can be really difficult to gain traction by yourself. But when you're able to sell on Amazon.com, you have that trust, that ability to know that if something goes wrong, Amazon has your back, because they're always putting the customer first. And that's something that, as long as you are also putting the customer first, that's something that you can really use and leverage to be able to build momentum and grow your business.
And it's just as a business owner, I want to go where people are at and are comfortable buying. Whereas if I was using another site, even a simple thing of like I know when I've been targeted for those other ads, having to get up and put my credit card information in, I'm sure there's studies out there of how many people get lost in just doing that. Because that's where, as a consumer, that's where I think good business owners understand that, where are my customers? How easy is it for them to buy on Amazon, right? With the one-click purchase or two-click purchase, whatever it is, and it gets delivered to your house. So that trust, the financial aspect of not having to share information and input things, that also helps too. And the ease of where my customers are buying. Also the network, for me as a Canadian, to be able to sell in the US and vice versa, that is another reason you can really expand internationally fairly quickly if you are selling products on Amazon. Whereas if you looked at a traditional brick and mortar store, to be able to have that level of networking, or that level of network to be able to sell your product, would take a lot of money and resources.
But I think still a lot of people assume, okay, we're getting onto Amazon.com. I list my product there and then that's done. I'm just going to have a built in audience of customers that are instantly finding my product. And I engage with people all the time who are feeling very frustrated because they're not getting the traction that they expected. And that's why making sure that you have this ad strategy component becomes so important and essential to really making sure that you are putting your business in front of the customers that are wanting to buy your product but just may not know about it otherwise. If you're sitting there on page 10, that might even be on a good day if you're listing a brand new product. So making sure that you have a comprehensive strategy, even though that audience is there, you still need to be taking all the steps to make sure that you're getting in front of them so that they have the opportunity to learn about your brand, to buy from it, and to be delighted by whatever products it is that you are selling.
Yeah, definitely. I think to be a successful seller on Amazon, you have to have the right product in front of the right customer at the right time.
Exactly.
So if you can get all three of those going, you will have success on Amazon.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you have any final tips or last words for our listeners today?
I think one takeaway for anybody who's watching today is that I feel to be a successful seller on Amazon, you do need to understand Amazon ads. And understanding, as we talked about earlier, understanding the basics and the fundamentals is going to be key. There's a lot of great content that creators like you and I have put out. So please take the time to watch it. And then taking that knowledge, that base knowledge, and then applying it to your business. That's why, because there's so many different product categories, and some things will work better in certain categories over others. So if you understand the base knowledge, you can try it in your category. And if you're noticing, oh, this isn't working well, you'll have that base knowledge to try something else that may resonate with your customer or may resonate better with your product. So please take the time to understand the base knowledge, test and try. I always say slow and steady. Test and try, collect the data points that you are getting back from Amazon ads, and run those campaigns to help mature your product listing onto Amazon.
I feel like by this point in the conversation, the only thing that might be holding you back from going ahead and running your first campaign is a little bit of fear. So I'd really encourage anybody watching right now to just go ahead, set up your first campaign. You have the knowledge you need, and from there, you'll have so much more data that you can use to really begin to grow your business and take it to the next level on Amazon. Thank you so much for joining me today, Mandeep. This was a wealth of knowledge.